Good morning, dear children. As displayed on your screen, our topic for today is from your English supplementary book, Chapter 3, The Shepherd's Treasure. Before starting with the chapter, let me ask you one simple question. Who do you think is called to be a shepherd? Yes, the one who rears sheep are known to be a shepherds. So, before starting with the lesson, let me give you a short introduction of it. This story, which we are about to learn, throws light upon the importance of human values like honesty, wisdom, and humanity. How, by following such high values and principles, a shepherd became a governor of a particular place. So, let us start with this chapter now. A poor shepherd lived in Iran. He was so poor that he did not even have a small house. Because of less number of schools during those days, he could not attend school to read and write. In spite of his poverty and illiteracy, the shepherd was very wise. He was able to understand people's pain and often helped them to solve their issues with courage and wisdom. People used to visit him to find suggestions and solutions. Because of this ability, he became popular. His popularity was so vast that it reached the king as well, and he thought of meeting him. Dressed as a shepherd and hiding his true identity, the king reached the shepherd's cave on a mule. The moment the shepherd noticed him coming to his cave, he got up to greet him. He brought the traveler inside his cave and gave him water and food. The king took rest and stayed with him for the night in the cave. The king was impressed by his friendly, warm reception and words of wisdom. Though the king was still feeling tired, yet he decided to leave from the place the very next morning. He expressed his gratitude to the poor shepherd for his warm and kind welcome. He sought his permission to leave the place. The shepherd addressed the king as Your Majesty, and looking straight into his eyes, expressed his gratitude. The king was wondering and was full of joy to hear his words. He thought that the shepherd was actually very wise. The people like him were the need of the king. He must work for the king, and the king made him the governor of a small district. In spite of all the power and dignity, the shepherd never changed but remained humble and modest as always. People liked him and were full of appreciation for his wisdom and kindness. His behavior was just to everyone. He became popular as a good and wise governor. But the governors of other states developed jealousy for him. They started speaking against him to the king. They started calling him dishonest and blamed him for keeping part of the tax money with him. They even posed questions over his iron chest. They said that it had all the treasures he had collected secretly. They started blaming him. They made fun of him, calling him a common shepherd who was nothing before, and now suddenly, when he gained this position and he started to earn money, it was expected to behave in such a dishonest manner. Initially, the king paid no attention to such words, but gradually he had to. He did not believe that the governor carried an iron chest with him. He thought that he must inquire about the reason for carrying an iron chest with him all the time. Thus, the king called the new governor to the palace. He came on his camel. Everyone was feeling joy as the most talked about iron chest was tied behind him on the camel's back. Seeing this, the king shouted in anger and asked him the reason for carrying that iron chest with him. The governor smiled and asked his attendant to bring that chest. All the people were very curious to see and find what it had inside. But when it was opened, they found no precious gold or silver but an old blanket. There was not any treasure which the other governors spoke about. There was no gold, no silver, no diamond, not any kind of jewelry, but it was an old blanket. The shepherd took the blanket in his hands with pride and explained to the king that it was his treasure. So, what was the shepherd's treasure? Yes, an old blanket was shepherd's treasure. But the king was curious to know the reason for carrying such an old blanket. Obviously, he is having a governor position, he is earning money. He could have carried anything, whatever he wanted, but he was carrying an old blanket. So the king was very curious. To which the shepherd replied in a very dignified and respectful manner that blanket was his oldest friend. In times of need, it would protect him. If the king ever wished, he could take his new clothing, but that blanket was very dear to him. The king felt very happy to hear his words. The governors definitely were ashamed. Now it was clear to everyone that the shepherd was the humblest and the wisest man there. Feeling proud of him, the king gave him a bigger district to look after at that very time. So, this is what we learn from this chapter. The shepherd, he was very poor, he was illiterate, he did not study at all, yet he was very noble, he was very wise, he was very intelligent. He always helped the people in need. He never cheated anyone, he never mistreated anyone, he never showed any kind of favor to any one person and treated badly with another, but he was always just to everyone. So this chapter, this lesson that we learn today, it shows that how shepherd who was poor became a governor of a very big district one day. Why it happened? Because he had his values. He was honest, he was wise, and he had humanity. He had principles that he could not change, and also he did not want to change. He was uneducated yet very wise, and he became very powerful, not powerful, but very popular because of his such kind of behavior. He was very kind to everyone, and all the people liked him. Even though first he was poor, now he is a governor, his attitude did not change at all. His behavior did not change at all. So this lesson, it tries to teach you and it tries to convey a message to you that, dear children, try hard so that you can succeed. But when you succeed, do not change what you were before. You should be kind as always. You should be honest not only to others but to yourself. Be wise in taking decisions. Show humanity to others, not only to human beings, to also animals. You should inculcate those values, those moral values which we always try to teach you within yourself, so that when you grow, when you succeed, like this shepherd, other people will love you and will appreciate you for what you are, not for your position, not for how much you earn, not for what you do, but for what you are. So I believe that you understand this chapter very well. Go through this chapter. If any doubt, we'll be having Q&A sessions every week, so you can clarify your doubts that time. You can ask me questions so that I can answer you. Till then, take care.